We don't play Star Citizen, but a lot of people do, and some of those people are upset about some new potential pay-to-win concerns in the game. And Chris Roberts, the game's creator and spiritual leader, has now replied.
Right, listen, we don't play Star Citizen. But for the people that do, a lot of what Star Citizen currently is a promise of things to come, up to and including the purchase of in-game cash, or microtransactions. Star Citizen is the giant crowd-funded MMO currently being developed and published by designer Chris Roberts and his company Cloud Imperium Games. Development began in 2011 and the game is currently in alpha. Star Citizen has so far raised over $191 million in crowdfunding, and Cloud Imperium are still enthusiastically raising cash via a few means, including by selling in-game currency to players. United Earth credits, which can be used in-game, are on sale for $6 for 5,000 UEC, up to $24 for 20,000 UEC. The Roberts Space Industry store description says you can spend them at Voyager Direct, but the Voyager Direct web store is now defunct and the credits can now only be spent in-game instead.
Only not really. Not yet, anyway. UEC is the currency the players will rely on when the full game goes live. That is what the economy of the final game will be based on. Players currently in the alpha can earn a slightly different currency called AUEC, which they can freely spend in-game right now. Listen, we don't play Star Citizen, but as explained in a post on the Roberts Space Industry support pages a month or so ago, quote, UEC will be the in-game currency used to buy weapons, shields, and decoration items. When the final game goes live, this will be the currency used to purchase everything in the game's virtual economy. These credits will help you take your first steps on your journey into the Star Citizen universe once the game is released. The controversy, or debate, or sticking point, you choose the word that least upsets you, Star Citizen fans who keep emailing us about how little we know about this game, is about how this is capped, or more accurately, how it isn't capped. It used to be that players could only possibly hoard a maximum of 150,000 UEC, but that has now changed. There is now no cap at all, except for a daily cap, which limits spending to a maximum of 25,000 UEC a day, which equates to about $30. And remember, that's $30 on an in-game currency that's not actually supposed to be used properly until the final full game goes live.
So this is why people are upset now, because obviously you can buy in-game currency if there's no cap to that, which was previously 150,000 UEC. If you keep spending indefinitely, you know, by the time the game goes live, you might have millions of UEC in your account, and that's what people don't want. That's why everyone was happy with the 150 grand cap. And the reason that they moved it very specifically because every time there's a server reset, all your items in your inventory gets melted essentially because you can't carry it over to the next build of the game. You've got to cash them in for UEC, and if you've got items that are worth more than 150,000, then what happens is you won't have enough room in your wallet to be able to store all that cash. So you have to...
You'd lose money.
Yeah, you lose money. So this is why specifically Chris Roberts says this is why we're removing this cap. But then that opens the door to other people's concerns are it's hoarding all this cash ready for day one of the game where they can be just rich bastards.
Yeah, right from day one.
So we don't play Star Citizen, but some of the players that do criticised this move last week in a Reddit thread. The top comment pointed out that with no cap in place, a player could theoretically now add 25,000 UEC a day to their account until launch and have enough cash to outright control the economy. It basically means the final game could go live with the equivalent of millionaires lording it around the place. Well, Chris Roberts responded to these grievances this week in an open letter on the Roberts Space Industries website. Roberts explains that the removal of the cap was done to help smooth over the transition to an in-game economy, to give people that had purchased game items from the old Voyager Direct web store enough room in their wallets to melt them back for UEC and not have that total capped off. Quote, as we are going to be rebalancing the pricing and economy as we expand the game, and as we currently reset everyone's accounts when we release a new patch, we felt it would be unfair to force people to keep items they may have bought at a radically different price. This would have happened if we'd have kept the overall hard cap on UEC, as many players had amassed a lot more than 150,000 UEC worth of items.
Now, Roberts points out that Star Citizen will have no subscription model and that everything you can obtain with real money can be earned in-game as well. There's also plenty of things that can only be earned by playing the game, which we don't do. He highlights the fact that PvP, where those with better ships will have an advantage, is only a small fraction of the game, and players can opt out completely if they want to. He signs the whole thing off by saying Star Citizen has no specific win state. Quote, Star Citizen isn't some race to the top, it's not like Highlander where there can only be one. It is an open-ended, persistent universe sandbox that doesn't have an end game or a specific win state. This may be a foreign concept to gamers, as the majority of games are about winning and losing, but Star Citizen isn't a normal game. It's a first-person universe that allows you to live a virtual life in a compelling futuristic setting. You win by having fun. And fun is different things to different people. Yeah, so he's kind of gone down that route of being a bit more philosophical about it and saying that...
what really is winning?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can
you define win? So that's the route he's taken there. And that it does need pointing out, there is no subscription model for this. This is an MMO. This isn't like a Destiny type situation or the Division. This is an MMO. There's not going to be a subscription. Obviously, you have to pay in to get access to the game. You've got to buy the game to get in there. But the way they're monetizing it afterwards, they're going for this microtransaction kind of shark cards model almost, where you just buy currency and then you can spend that currency as you want in this huge universe. And that's the big problem with all of this. It's because it's all working. It's all currently still, I guess, technically a crowdfunding campaign. So when you say they're microtransactions, you're buying in currency, what you're still doing there is just backing the game. You're just that's what they're saying. That's how they're selling it to a lot of their kind of core fans. They're saying you're helping support us and you're helping and that's where a lot of the money comes from. It's not like saying that GTA 5 wouldn't exist if you didn't buy shark cards. Whereas in this case, they can say, the more you put down, the more we can work towards these big features that we've got ideas for and all this. But the ultimate defense he's put out here is that there is no specific win state in the game. But I think the strongest argument is the fact that PvP is such a small part of the game and it isn't a kind of living MMO where, just fighting other players is just a small percentage of the whole picture.
For me, it's an argument over terminology. And he says it's not pay to win because there's no win state in the game. Whereas it's obvious that people who will go into the game with millions in their credit in their accounts
will be winners.
Will have an advantage. If you want to say pay to have an advantage, pay to win, whatever you want to term it. These people will have more of an advantage because they've paid more out. And we worked it out. It's something like if you pay $30 a day, you spend upwards of $11,000 in a year and get just over 9 million UEC if you spend every single day. And that's just one account. If you multiple account it and then transfer it afterwards, you could be like a millionaire, maybe even a billionaire if you had the commitment and the bank account to fund it.
You'd also be a maniac, but yeah.
You'd be total maniac is what you'd be. I'm sure there's plenty of those playing Star Citizen. Can we say that? But I think he's missing the point here. People are concerned that going in day one, it's not going to be a level playing field. And it is a race to the top. And I've seen it in EVE Online. You see all these huge corporations come out of nowhere. And the reason they get there is because they're all resources at their disposal. They claim a bit of space. They've got all these spaceships to defend it. And that only happens if you've got the resources, which is people's ships and lots of money to support that. I think he's been a little bit naive here, saying that the game is going to be fun whichever direction you go in. It doesn't matter. People are in this game to dominate, right? People will dominate. That's exactly what happens in EVE Online. People will want to do that. And the ones with the biggest bank accounts and the desire to do that will be at an advantage over the others. And that's just... He's missing the point there.
If you think who's going to drop 11,000 on microtransactions, you clearly haven't seen any of our videos about whales and stuff who spend loads of money in mobile games, about top-down, really simplistic mobile games. This is a space MMO that is supposed to give you, it's like Second Life material, it's proper, very ambitious MMO stuff. People do want to put a lot of money down on this thing, and this is kind of opening the floodgates for that and taking away the cap, and that's what the concerns are. And the community is divided on this. We have to say, a lot of people are saying, this is bad for the in-game economy, and then there are other people on the other side saying, well, this is absolutely fine. I mean, it'll be interesting to hear what the split is in the comments, because you can never tell. You can never tell with Star Citizen stories. So, we don't play Star Citizen, but do you? And if so, do you think this is pay to win, or do you think it's absolutely fine? Let us know down in the comments. We do have a podcast, by the way, which is now on Spotify and iTunes and Castbox and anywhere else you get your podcast, basically. We've been on YouTube for a long time with the podcast, but now you can listen to us on the go as well. So check that out if you're into the podcast. There's another video right there which you can watch right now if you want, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.